Great morning. All. I hope that you all woke up grateful this morning. I hope that you all reminded yourself of the things that you have to be grateful for in your life. And I hope you've set a high vibe. The weekend's rolling in pretty quick. I hope that every time you see a limitation, you get creative. Okay, there are no limits. And I hope every time you see an obstacle, you evolve, you grow, you push past it. You see it as an opportunity. All right, Wendell's going to jump on after. Probably around 7:30, but I got a couple of things to talk about this morning. All right. I want to remind you all that you're sourced by an infinite, unconditional love that loves you no matter what. All right. Today, you're a brand new person. Believe it or not, you're not the same person as you were yesterday. All right. Why? Because you learned yesterday. You learned about yourself. You learned about whatever you experienced yesterday. All right. So you're not the same person as you are yesterday. So this morning I have a little fun exercise to put some stuff into perspective for you all. All right. Now, those who choose to actually do the exercise, you're going to feel the benefits of it. All right. Because I think now, at this point of doing the lives all the time and, feeding everybody with a different perspective, well, I think it's time for you guys to harness some change. All right. Now, how am I going to help you with that? I'm going to help you put yourself into perspective. Now, what do I mean by that? This morning, instead of looking at everything else that's going on in your life, I'd like you to take a look at yourself. Okay? Now, today being a fresh new person, and today having a creative power to be whatever you want in your day and whoever you choose to be today, I'd like you to put yourself in perspective this morning. Now, how are you going to do that? Well, grab a piece of paper and a pen. And what are you going to do? Well, I'd like you to make 2 columns on the paper. And first, I'd like you to write down how you see yourself. What do I mean by that? Who are you today? Write down all the great qualities that you have, and it puts it in perspective for you. Okay? You got to remind yourself today of your greatness. And that's what the key is today. All right? This is what I want you guys to do. It's up to you if you do it. It's your choice, but put yourself in perspective. And I want you to take a serious look at how you see yourself, not how others see you. Okay? I want you to take a look at how you see yourself. Take a piece of paper and a pen, like I mentioned, and write it down. Write down all your great qualities. And in the other column, write down all of the things that, hey, you don't feel so great about. Okay? Write it down. Take a good perspective look. Take a good look at who you are today, who you believe yourself to be, because that is all on you. Okay? And sometimes it takes for us to write things down and take a good look at it to make the shift. Okay? Because I want you to see who you are operating as a person. What do you believe? What are their core values that you're operating from? Okay? Seriously. Because when you put that in perspective for yourself and you remind yourself of it, well, then you're less swayed by anything else that's going on because you're firm in who you are. Okay? And this is the point of asking you guys to remind yourselves, hey, who are you today? Are you embracing your creative power? Are you being hopeful, loving, inspiring, motivating for anybody looking at you? Are you owning your greatness of your experience? Yes, we all have hard things that we have to deal with. But overall, this life experience is for learning. And you should be learning absolutely the most that you can at any given opportunity. You know, why I encourage you all to do it is this. We get stuck in this, well, I don't know how to do that, so I won't do it. Or I'm not familiar with that, so I'm not going to touch that. Or, you know, oh, I see myself as this way, so therefore I can't do that. And we limit ourselves by the way that we see ourselves. And this is why I want you guys to remind yourselves of who you really are. Because we get so consumed by life. And we're so busy looking outside and seeing what everybody else is doing and seeing everything else that's in our face all the time. We don't stop and take the time to appreciate our own greatness. Okay? Because no matter what's going on outside of you, you are greatness. You're a creator. Your fuel for your vessel is it's unconditional love, and it's infinite. It's never ending. Now, through that is the power of the all-knowing. In that energy of your soul that's feeding you life, you can create and manifest anything that you want. But as long as you believe yourself to be a certain way, or believe yourself to have certain limits, or believe yourself to be inflicted by life, well, then you're not getting the most out of your experience. It's as simple as that. I want to remind you guys that there is so much greatness in your being. You have a unique signature on this planet. The things that you bring is so much different than the things that I bring, okay? And that's why each and every single person is important. You've been given another day, okay? So today, remind yourself, hey, great morning, Paris, I like the love. Okay, but seriously, remind yourself of your greatness, okay? Because it's what we truly believe in ourselves that limits us. And it shackles us to our past. Like, I want you guys to look at your operating systems of how you're governing your life and your experience. Remind yourself of all your good qualities, but also take a look at the bad qualities because they're a part of you too. There's a yin and yang, a balance, okay? So like I mentioned before, I think it was yesterday, you can't be angered by somebody or hate somebody unless you feel for them, okay? And that's serious. So I want you to look at how you're feeling about yourself as an individual. Check your core values. Check your belief systems. How are you operating? Because you cannot sit and feel sorry for yourself if you are not harnessing your greatness. And that's by your own choice. Seriously. Okay? So you got to believe in who you are, but who are you believing yourself to be? That's my question to you today. Who do you believe yourself to be? Do you believe that you're anxious, short-tempered, always aggravated, always irritated? Or do you believe that you are a loving individual who's capable of actually anything, primarily? Okay? Then what next do you believe? What are your core values? What do you believe to be okay? And what do you believe not to be okay? Look at these things because those are yours. Nobody else can tell you about that. That's within your being, within your experience, within your uniqueness of this whole thing. So yeah, we have interactions and we have responsibilities and we have all of this stuff. But who are you? Seriously. I got to ask you that. Who are you in your experience? Because you cannot blame, shame, guilt. Another for being the way you are. And you see, this is what happened to me all my life before I got it right within my head. I blamed my family dynamics, okay, coming from a broken home, and my father being a severe, abusive, very violent alcoholic. I blamed my parents' divorce. I blamed me not finding my footing in life. I blamed and shamed and hated so much until I realized that it was all a part of my journey to become who I am today. Because if you take out any part of that out of my life, I'm not who I am today. So I have to embrace it all. But the whole point of it is not to stay stuck looking at that. So what? It happened. All right, it's learning. The minute you take out the emotional charge of it, okay? And what do I mean by that? When you think of your past, does it upset you? Because it really shouldn't. You should be using that as your tools to go forward with. What's in your toolbox of life? What are your tools that you resort to? Take a look at that. You can't blame somebody else for the way you're feeling. You can't. I did that for years. I blamed my parents. I blamed my family. I blamed, hey, whatever I could until I could take a look at my own damn self. Hey, because it doesn't matter what happens in the past. It's all existent in our own mind. Okay? Yeah, we may see the results of it and what it has produced for us in our life. But that's where you have to take a look at it. You got to look at it. Nobody got you to where you are today. You got yourself to where you are today. But own that and love it. Love it. And take a look at it. Don't react to it. Respond to it. Okay, you got a brand new day today. Hey. So you're supposed to look at that stuff and learn from it. And you're supposed to unshackle yourself from the emotional charge. It shouldn't make you feel any way except for wiser. Seriously. You know, come on. But take a look at that stuff today. Take a piece of paper and a pen and look at who you are. Why not? Everybody's so busy looking at everything else. Pause. Take a look at who you are. Create yourself to be who you want to be today. And that's my point of it all. Okay? You have that capacity. You have the capacity this morning to leave all of that crap behind you because you're blessed with a fresh, clean slate today. Okay, so you may have fallen short of grace yesterday. You may not have been able to be the utmost loving person that you could be. So what? Learn from it. If there's apologies that you have to give people for excusing the way that you've treated somebody, do it. Clear your slate. Don't carry stuff forward. Clear it. Be loving, but to yourself first. How do you do that? Figure yourself out. That's what the thing is. I didn't figure myself out for a very long time. But today, oh, I know who I am. And I know my energy. And I know what triggers me. And I know what doesn't trigger me. And I know what makes me feel good. And I know what doesn't make me feel good. But I also know what core belief system that I'm operating my life from. And what is that? Hey, I am finally in alignment with what is fueling my existence. Simple. I have to be unconditionally loving to myself and others. Simple. It doesn't matter what I'm doing or where, we all have these set goals. Oh, you want the big mansion and you want hey, unless you are living in tune and in unconditional love for yourself, forget all that stuff, because you're striving for things that you expect to make you feel that way. But those things aren't going to make you feel that way. They aren't. They really aren't. Those kind of feelings have to come from inside your being. You have to be happy first, or you can't enjoy anything around you or anybody around you. You can't. It's impossible. So you got to get in tune with who you are and who you're operating as in this experience. And when you do that, you'll see life changes. Everything that once hindered you or limited you will no longer, because you're going to soon understand, once you get in alignment with your own being, that really you are the creator of your experience. And it's your perspective that makes you see it the way you do. Okay? So if you're not getting the most out of your life, it's because you're seeing it wrong. And you're seeing yourself wrong. I love you, Paris. Thank you for the support, girl. Really, honestly, I really do. Thank you. But people need to know. People need to know. They get stuck in this illusion of who they think they are. And they give all of their power to everything and everybody around them, and they don't harness anything. But then they sit back and they feel sorry for themselves and sorry for the choices that they consciously make. So it's, honestly, this is why I encourage people today, remind yourself of who you are. Take a piece of paper and a pen and write it down, because that's going to shift a mindset and it's going to make you feel empowered. Wendell's ready to come on. I love it. Okay, I'm going to hop him on here. Yes, we are programmed that way. Straight up. You know why? Because we model everything around us growing up. We learn more by observing and watching people than we do by what they're teaching us. So that's the conditioning and the paradigm set in. We actually model everybody before us. Our grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, our parents, and we watch how they interact with people, right? And we watch how they view themselves, and that's what we model. But that's what we can also change. And that's what I want to do. I want to change it, Okay, I'm going to get Wendell on here. Learn to unlearn and relearn. Yes, that's right. And that's what I had to do. Paris, I had to do that. I had to. And that's why, honestly, I did the self-mastery program. Honestly, that's why I'm doing the NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, right now. And I'm also doing the hypnosis therapy. I'm going to be a certified practitioner for this stuff because I know how it damaged my life. And I got to teach people how to fix it. And I don't have any more purpose on this earth than to do that. Because holy shit, I need to show people how to unshackle themselves from that. I'm going to get Wendell on here. I love you, Paris. Thank you. Great morning to you, Wendell.
Great morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Feeling great this morning. I had to remind myself who I am this morning. So I encouraged everybody to do that too.
Yeah, I was watching earlier there. A very good message that you're sending because, it is true pretty much what you were saying, right? About you know, like yourself, like trying to find good stuff for yourself and, get making the right decision and that sort of thing because we do have to have control over our life and, most people I find that when they're going through certain things, they have a tendency of getting so submersed by what they were doing than thinking about themselves in doing what they're doing. If that makes any sense.
They become the situation and forget who they are in it.
Correct. Good morning, Paris.
I love her. She's great. She boosted me this morning. You see, when I get that kind of feedback, all right, that's right. It's being received, so it's easier to let it out, you know?
Yeah, I was watching the interaction there. She's a beautiful person.
Oh, she is. She is, and I'm really honored to have known her a very long time.
Good stuff. So yeah.
So how you doing? Did you remind yourself of who you are? Are you grateful for your day? Did you set a
You
high
know,
bar?
you know what's funny? It's like this, like me personally and when I talk to a lot of people, they kind of get a little, you know, they get a little envious of my own power over myself. It's like when I get up, I always say to myself, okay, today's gonna be a good day. I'm not gonna let any evil enter into my energy. I'm gonna pretty much control what I can control. There's certain things that are beyond our control, and some people kind of get lost in that. They freak out over situations or like obstacles, like you mentioned all the time. Overcoming your obstacles and setting limitations and that sort of stuff. So when I get up, I just first of all I thank God for life. That's the first thing I do. And then I just ask Him for guidance throughout the day. And when I go through my day, I just kind of you know do what I gotta do. And then when I see negative energy coming at me, I'm like, oh, I acknowledge that it's negative energy. So I'm like, okay, how do I avoid it, or how do I go past it or around it? And then I just do what I have to do to go past and around it, right? So, and then for the most part, I end up having a pretty good day. So can't complain.
No, that's good. That's good. I like that. I like that. Oh, in the morning, I do the same thing. Hey, I set my vibe. I honestly, I'm out in the morning with the dogs at about 5 o'clock in the morning,
Hmm.
and I set my vibe for the day. I have to remind myself of who I am, how grateful I am, and what core values I'm going to choose to operate on during that day, because I'm
Absolutely.
a new individual, right? Every day we're a new individual. So that reminder, I encourage everybody out there to remind yourselves every morning of, seriously, I come out here and I say, hey, be grateful. Remind yourself of the things that you're grateful for, but do you really do it? I have no idea, but I know I do. Seriously, because we need those reminders. It's too easy to go back into the programmed and conditioned way of thinking.
Yeah, I guess. But like me personally, it's because I've been there, right? I always make sure that I never ever put myself in a situation where I might veer towards that direction or start thinking about that. You know what I mean? I just pretty much kind of stay in the now.
Yeah,
I'll,
but there's many people, that's why I kind of addressed it to them, because there's many people out there that aren't at the level,
right,
aren't at this level.
right, right,
Okay, because they wake up in the mornings and they're so consumed by their life that the first thing they're looking for is their problems.
right.
Okay, and it's real. A lot of people are like that. So that's why I encourage that. That's why I encouraged everybody else to really, you know what I mean? So that's why I wasn't directing that at you, but I was directing it at all of those people that honestly, they don't understand the importance of being grateful for their day.
Yeah. See,
They walk around with shame and blame and guilt and all those negative emotions from the first minute they wake up to. That's what they lock themselves to, instead of setting that vibe of, hey, I'm a magnificent creator and I've got some great shit going on here. Let me use it to my benefit. They feel sorry for themselves. Why me? Why not you? That's your part of your journey. Like, get on with it. Let's do this.
yep. Self pity
I
is real.
can't read what Paris wrote there because of your white sweater. So you want to read that?
I try and sun gaze if the sun is out, and I feel like it gives me energy. Hmm.
It does.
She says, "You're always where you're supposed to be." Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah, most,
exactly.
I agree with that for the most part.
Yeah, but so do I. It's serious. And you know what? Honestly, Paris, when it comes to your sun gazing, I use the sun every morning to draw from. It's a real thing. You can refuel your body's energy by focusing on the sun. That's a part of my meditation, but usually I get up and it's still dark. But as the sun rises, I like to be outside in that shift because, yes, I pull power off the sun. I've beat death 5 times in 12 years, and yes, I've done it by the sun and the moon. I'll be real with that. I pulled energy from places that people say, hey, that's impossible. No, I'm possible. So it's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. 'Cause I mean, like for me personally, I find that also when you when you think of all the good things that happens to you, right? Like, the positive things, you're
Full moon
so
tonight, guys. Yay. Sorry, I had to.
so it's like, when you focus on positive things, you because you're so focused on the positive things, you don't even think of the negative stuff, to be honest. So it's a good
Actually, actually, you know what's really good about being positive and focusing on positive is because then you clearly see the negative coming.
true.
You see, but in a negative mindset or a negative whatever, you don't see it because you're a part of that vibe.
Right.
You're entertaining that vibe, you know? So if somebody's being negative or whatever, they have a hard time seeing the negativity around them because that's their operating system. So it's just like in sync with their natural style. But people like us who try to remain positive and try, we see the negative very
Right.
clearly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I mean, I used to always like back in the day, I always used to think like, and when they say the power of thinking is it's so true because I mean, back in the day, I always used to say to myself, I'd be going through my stuff, and then I'd just be like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be, so all right, bring it on, I'll deal with it, and then I kept dealing with it and dealing with it and dealing with it, and then I read that book. I don't know if I told you this, but I read this book called "You Can Heal Your Life" by Louise L. Hay. Totally changed my life.
Louise Hay is amazing. Yeah, okay.
I think she passed away just recently too, also. But or was it a while ago? I think it was a while ago. Anyway, so I read this book and I was like, wow, this is what it's about. It's about you know bringing negative energy into your circle, and then because it's in your circle, you kind of bring it into existence, right? You kind of talk it out, and when you put it out there, it's out there. You can't bring it back, right? So I learned that when when people are mean to you or bad to you, like especially at that time I was dating, right? So I was trying to meet somebody, and then they always say certain things, and then I would always assume, oh, this person's negative, I don't need them in my life, and I just cut them off, wouldn't give them a chance, anything, right? But as I started reading this book, it started telling me, you know, you kind of have to sometimes go through that to know a little bit more about yourself. Because,
Learning.
yeah, so it's like sometimes you'll make a decision thinking in your heart that it's a good decision, and then all of a sudden, you realize that, okay, where did that decision come from? Was it influenced by my past? Was it influenced by just the way that I was feeling at the time? Was I actually in a negative state at that moment? Like there's so many different factors that that affect your decision making that you don't even realize. You just think that, oh, I'm just gonna make a decision. It's either A or B, and you're just like, okay, well, I'll just choose B, right? And then when you've chosen B and you see all these problems and issues, then you're like, well, why did I choose B? And you never really think about it. You just think that, oh, well, I just made a wrong decision. That's it. Moving on to the next thing. Then you make another bad decision, then another bad decision, then another bad decision. And then you start hating yourself and start self believing that, you know what, maybe I'm not good at making decisions, right? But in reality, it's about thinking about that decision before you make it. It's the same thing with not only with relationships, but like even with jobs, for example, right? So you get these two job offers, and you're looking at the job offers, and you're like, okay, well, this job I enjoy, this job I won't, so I'm going to select the one that I enjoy. You select the job that you enjoy, and now you're miserable 3 weeks in. And then you're wondering, okay, well, this is a job that I enjoy. How come I'm not happy? Right? Sometimes you have to make a decision on a job where you're not as happy so that you end up creating your own happiness because you have to go through the routine to find that happiness in what you're doing. And then once you find that happiness, now you're happy about the decision that you made, and now you're like, okay, so how did I make that decision? And then now all of a sudden you apply it to all your other scenarios in life where you have to make a decision, and you realize now that have more control over your decision making, right?
Yeah. You know what I do? And it's going to sound real crazy to most that are listening. I don't break my head about choices I'm making. For what? Well, I'm supposed to be learning. Bring it on. Whatever it is. There's nothing good or bad. It's all for learning the way I see it. So, hey, I don't make any bad choices. I don't make any good choices. I make choices that are relevant to who I need to be in that split moment. And I can't beat myself up about it.
Okay.
I just got to look at it going, okay, did I learn what I had to learn? Hey, then it was a great opportunity. That's, you know what? If I know that most can't operate like that, but I have to. I have to. There's no good or bad in my life because I self-inflict everything.
Mm.
Everything is self-inflicted, right? No matter how we see anything, it's self-inflicted because it's our perspective making us look at that, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I just have to I'm open. I'm open for learning all the time because I have so much to learn. So I believe that no matter how it makes me feel, every single experience is for learning.
True. That's true. That is true though. Because I mean, um, a lot of people don't understand it though. It's like they just think that they're put in a situation because, the energy hates them, or that they're destined to be there, or whatever, you know what I mean? They don't really think that, oh well, I'm put in a situation and I have a fear or I have an obstacle. Let me overcome this and use this as a challenge, right? Challenge ourselves kind of thing.
Well, yeah, because the universe is never working against us. Like, so everything's for our best and highest good, right? So, like, we got it. It's what we think and we manifest because things are created twice, first in thought and then in creation, right? So it's like people are creating those situations, or when it's a situation, they shouldn't be seeing as a situation. Yes, things are tough because we have to be reminded sometimes,
Oh, it's true. Yeah, we do. We
right?
do.
So these reminders, when they come, it's either okay, they could break you and you get crushed by them and into that pattern of thought like you were talking about, or you could say, all right, cool, what am I supposed to learn? Because learning whatever I have to learn is going to project me into something even greater.
Yep.
Like,
And just to expound on that. So 2 years ago, I was I wasn't really struggling, but I was like doing the same kind of work, and I was getting a little, you know, fed up, so to speak, with the way life was going and all that. And I said, you know what, like I need to change something in my life, and I wanted to do something that I enjoyed that I would get paid for. So one of my friends I was talking to, and this was a friend that I've been talking to for years, where every single time, she had an issue, she would always call me, and she's like, every time I call you, you always give me like good advice. She goes, did you ever think of being a counselor? And I was like, not really. Like I don't want to be like that into people's lives, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I would like to help people, but not that deep into people's lives. So then after I was just like, and then I started thinking, like, why would she, of all things that I could do, why a counselor? So I started like doing some research, and then I was looking at what a counselor does, and the courses, and the costs were high, it was too long. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll go to that when I'm ready, like at a later time. And then maybe 2 or 3 days after that, somebody else reached out to me on Facebook because I think I posted something like, you know, um, I didn't really post that I was fed up of life per se, but I was just saying like, I was just, I was just venting pretty much,
Having a
right?
moment.
Having a moment. Thank you. So, you know, and I posted it, and then one of my friends said, did you ever consider being a life coach? And I was like, life coach? I'm like, what's that? So I Googled it, and then I was like, that's funny. That sounds exactly like what I do, normally. So why not get paid for it, right? So then after I did some research and I found the school, and at that time it was COVID, so it was online. I said, oh, this is perfect. So then after I was working, I think I was working in a kitchen in a senior's home, and it was just like it was a mess working there. Like also it was because COVID was really big there. A lot of seniors were passing away and all that stuff, and everybody was paranoid, and it was just fiasco, right? Complete fiasco. And I said, no, I can't do this. So I came home and then I said, okay, you know what, I'm gonna commit myself to this course, and I'm gonna take it really seriously, and I'm gonna go all in and see what happens. If I'm meant to do this, then I will be successful in it, right? So I did the course, and then the trainer, he said, out of all the 25 that were in this class, your results were one of the top five. So I was like, interesting. I said, okay. Then he said, I would like to offer you a position. And I'm like, hmm, okay. So then he mentioned something about licensing and all this kind of stuff. And at that time, I didn't have the money to do the licensing because it was just ridiculous. Like the amount was just ridiculous. So anyway, so I was like, you know what? So then I started talking to my friends, and then they're like, because I posted that I had graduated, and I posted a picture of my certificate, and they were like, oh, congratulations, da da da. And like, so what are you gonna do now? I said, well, I was talking to this guy to work with him, and all of a sudden, he tells me that I need to pay for this licensing thing or insurance or whatever. So he's like, oh. So then one of my guy friends, he was just like, oh, he goes, yeah, he goes, that's a scam, it's a money pit. I'm like, okay. He's like, why don't you just do it for yourself? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, why don't you just build a website and just do it for yourself? And I was just like, yeah, but I don't have time for all that stuff, and I don't know, I'm not a
Can't
techie.
hear you.
No, because I told him that I wasn't a techie like that. So anyway, so then he was like, oh well, I'll talk to some people and see if I can help you with that. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then right at that moment, United Safety called me to do this job. So I was like, I was like, okay, but so then I had that decision, where it's like, okay, do I leave this job and just stay focused on what I need to do without any income coming in at the time? Or do I take this job with the income and then on the side, slowly get some information and piece together my stuff and see how that goes? And then so I decided to do that way, and then in that doing that decision, you come into the picture, right? So it's like, so I'm saying all this just to kind of say that, when we make decisions, sometimes when you feel like the decision you make you're not sure of, that's always an indicator that you made a good decision, if that makes any sense. At
Yeah,
least
it
for
does
me.
make sense. It makes sense. I just like to, I don't like to make harsh decisions
Why not?
because
You're,
I don't, I made harsh decisions all my life. And
okay.
I'm at a point right now where I like to live in a state where, you know what, I allow everything to come and go throughout my life, it doesn't matter what it is. And I have to just let it flow. You know what I mean? I should not be creating any situations in my life where I have to make really harsh decisions.
I agree.
That again is a personal choice. If you're doing, like, not saying you, but I'm saying if somebody is constantly making their life harder, that's also a choice too, because, you know, they blame the decisions that they make, but they chose to make certain decisions. You know what I mean? So me personally, I let it flow. I've come to realize that in decision making, and you're making, like, if you have to make decisions, yeah, okay, you have to. But I try to be more allowing in my life than than concrete decision. You know what I mean? Like, I just like to live a little bit more freely than in that construction of a, you know what I mean? The way that was raised to be, you know what I mean?
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a personal question. You don't have to answer it
Yeah.
if you don't. But so with regards to decision making, right? Because you have children, right?
Yeah.
So how did your decision to have children bear on your life, like at the time? Like were you were you still going through that darkness, so to speak, while you were having your children, or was this way before?
Listen, my life was dark from the moment I took my first breath. So having my kids, honestly, I ended up pregnant at 18 years old.
Wow.
I had my daughter at 19. After that, put myself through school to educate her and keep going with whatever. My son only came 8 years later, but I was still living in hell. Literally, because that I lived hell all my life and created hell for myself after until I could, whoop, okay, what am I doing here? But it took me to beat death. Yeah, it's the past 12 years I've gotten it right. So
Okay.
yeah, my children are grown adults. My son just turned 21.
Wow. Okay.
They lived hell with me. Of course they did. And my son fought to stay alive all of his life because he was born dead.
What?
My son was born dead because they forced him through when he was stuck. He died during birth. They did
Wow.
not revive my son. My son took life on his own by me yelling, Brendan, you got to breathe. No, you're not doing it, Brendan. And I screamed his name twice and he began to breathe again on his own. I watched his spirit go back into his body and take life.
That
Yeah. The doctors never revived him. And they thought that he wasn't going to live after that. So they refused to let me touch him. They isolated and quarantined him for 24 hours.
oh oh
Well,
that's
guess
crazy.
what? My son has fought to stay alive ever since that. He's got 25 food allergies that'll kill him in 5 minutes. He's
What?
hypersensitive. Yeah,
25 foods.
minimum. Minimum. He's allergic to everything. Everything.
Wow.
Everything. But he's a strong man today. 6'3", absolutely. He's a man. And he's healthy today. And he teaches me. Like I told you the other day, he reminded me of shit. He's so spiritual, it's not funny. He's kept me aligned all my life. Had it not been for him, I would have never had a chance at a good life. Period.
That's amazing. That's
Period.
amazing.
My son reminded me the other day on his birthday, like I told you, Mom,
You,
the biggest I am, you have to remember, is this. I am who I am. Like in my face, telling me, and yes, Brendan, you're right. He's been my biggest spiritual teacher ever. I've watched this kid fight to stay alive. I've watched, hey, and he is a better man than I could ever imagine him to be today.
that's amazing. Wow. Okay.
And you know what's crazy? They said he would never go through regular stream high school. He graduated. They said
Amazing.
he would never do anything. He would not be able to walk or talk or all this shit. Listen, this boy can look through you like you're rice paper. He does to me. This is why you know what I mean? He looks right through me. There's no lie. There's no excuse. There's no nothing. However you present yourself to be, he sees it. It's
Amazing.
crazy. But I love him. He's my son. But
But doctor,
decisions about having my son, let me say, because you asked about decision making when it came to my kids, I didn't decide to have them. Their soul contract decided it was time for me to allow them to come through.
wow. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Hmm. Yeah, it's funny. It's just I don't know. It's just it's so funny that when you live a life by yourself, right? And you start thinking, oh, I gotta do this and I gotta do that. to kind of get yourself to a certain place in your life so that you're comfortable. When you have children, it's like it's double now, It's like now, actually, it's not even that it's doubled, but it's like, okay, I have to make sure now that not only do I give a good life to my kids, but to set an example so that they know, you know, what they need to do if for whatever reason my time is done, right? I don't know, that's crazy. It's crazy. Like, and the thing too is I have two daughters, right? So, I've always been growing up, like while they've been upgrading, knowing about, what if somebody rapes them, or what if somebody kidnaps them, or what if somebody, and then you start questioning your ability of being a parent almost, right? It's like, oh, what is she doing? Should I be letting her do this, or should I let her be doing that? There's so much like decision making, not only about yourself now, but now you got to make decisions for other people too, right? So
I
yeah.
get that. Can I give you a little perspective of how I see my children's journey?
Sure.
I did that to myself for a very long time, questioning whether I could be the person that they needed. But the more I understood spiritually and the more I understood about how things really work,
Hmm.
they had a soul contract with me before I even came through my mother. So when it was time, they came through for me, not the other way around.
Hmm.
They
Interesting.
came through me to wake me up and alter my whole, shift my existence, and they did. But they also, as spiritual beings, have their own unique signature on this planet that no matter what I do, they have their journey that is going to be lived. So all I can do is support their being. That's it. In anything they choose and anything that their heart desires, because I can't manipulate that to rewrite my wrongs or excuse my life or live vicariously through them. They have their own signature, and I respect that. And they are their own individuals. And I don't, I'm not one of those wing moms. If they need me, they know I'm there. But other than that, I'm not in their face. I allow them to be their individual selves, and
Dude,
I empower them to be like that.
I'm the same. Yeah, I'm the same. And their moms used to get on me for that, but it's like, you can't spoon feed your children all the time. They're not going to
No,
learn it. Sometimes you
no,
got to let them. My youngest daughter, she just had her first heartbreak with a boy. And
that's hard. That's hard for a girl.
well, yeah, now she's like, they're giving her antidepressants and all this kind of crap and stuff. And I mean, it is what it is, right? But at the same token, it's like, you want to believe that your child is strong enough to fight this kind of, thing. But you're not there, you know what I mean? And also they have to develop that, you know what I mean? So sometimes it's hard to kind of, you have to sit there with your arms behind your back and just watch the show from a distance because you don't want to you don't want to what's the word I'm looking for? You don't want to hamper her growth, right? Because you want her to develop her own ways of dealing with things and her own identity. And this way now she knows. And I told her, I said, you know what? Now you know what that whole scene is about. Now you know that guys are gonna lie to you to say certain things just to get you in bed, and then once they got you in bed, they're gonna kick you to the curb. So now you know these things. Yes, it sucks, and yes, it's hard, and yeah, maybe it was the first person that you fell in love with, but don't let that stop you from loving somebody else. You know what I mean? And that's where the that's where the real
Okay,
hard.
okay, I get it. You know what? I think, can I just offer a little suggestion in that situation,
Sure.
if you don't mind? I
Go
think
ahead.
that it's time for you to just tell her to love herself unconditionally. And that's going to help her avoid antidepressants. And that's going to, the tools that we don't have is that exact problem. We don't have the tools to love ourselves unconditionally. And should we have had those tools, our life would be so much different.
That's true because I do tell her, and I tell her all the time. I'm like, because even her, she's like, I'll say, "Oh, look at you, sweetheart. You look so beautiful." And she's like, "Oh, what do you mean, Daddy? I don't. I'm just average." I'm like, "No, sweetheart. Don't ever think that you're average. You're a beautiful person. You have a beautiful personality. If anybody wants you, they're gonna have to bust their ass to get you, and that's simple. You're not an easy person to get. You want to make that person work for you to show you that they're actually interested in you and not interested in what you can offer, because there's a difference, right? So,
I get it. I get
so
it.
she,
Every time somebody displays their belief systems to me, such as that, I try to correct that. I attack the belief system. I can't rewrite the script or try to tell them. If somebody believes that about themselves, they're going to believe it, no matter what you tell them. So attack the belief system. You got to
500.
destroy that belief system.
Yeah, she said she's got to go to work.
I love you, Paris. Have a great day. You go get it, girl. Yeah, 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 shine, girl. I love you. Thanks for
Thank
interacting this morning.
That was nice. But yeah, it's like, you know, and it's also the world that we live in too, right? Like the world has changed so much, and it's
For
hard to
sure.
kind of, we're old school. This new generation is new school. They don't get us. We don't get them. It's a challenge. It's a real
And
challenge.
then with all of this new change in perspective stuff, and you can heal
Oh,
yourself, and the whole enlightenment thing, and you know what I mean? Like, hey, things like, I guess it doesn't matter what generation you're from at this point, it just matters what mindset are you carrying,
no, that's
you
right.
know?
And like, it's funny, like I was talking to one of my friends and they were like, "Oh, well, they have this course now and that they're giving in university for like safety and that sort of stuff." And I said, so that's interesting. I said, "So they have a course about safety, but they don't have a course about, helping you manage your budget or helping you cope with stress with studying, like I just don't get the school system. I really don't. I don't get the school system.
I think
Like,
that stress management, alignment classes, meditation classes, all that stuff should be in school right from the beginning, from the jump. In daycares, they should have mindfulness,
hmm,
really, because if they shifted it from young, they wouldn't
yeah,
struggle.
that's a good point.
Kids wouldn't be going to school mean, attacking other kids and bullying and all of the other stuff. No, not at all. You start mindfulness and accepting of other people's uniqueness from the jump, all the bullying will be gone, all of the drug use will be gone, all the shaming, all the bullshit in the schools will be gone. But it needs a whole rewrite.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I totally agree with you with that because even like, you know, like survival, when you tell people like, okay, so what if there's no water and there's no electricity and they run out of food? Like, what are you gonna do? You know? I don't
You,
know.
you know how bad it's gotten, Wendell? I'll tell you something. There's some kids that I've spoken to that honestly think that chicken just come off of a shelf at the store.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not. Listen, kids don't understand concept of gardening and farming, and where did all of that go? They're
That's
so stuck in these delusionary worlds where they're trying to escape their parents' horror that they don't know what life is really about. And it's bad. It's
really bad.
bad.
Really bad.
You know,
And
there is a lot of it that's being promoted, but unfortunately, there are children that are not understanding life because of what they're being exposed to or what they're living. And yeah, it sounds crazy, but yes, there are some kids that believe. Where do you get your food from? The store.
that's funny.
So, how much time you got, Wendell?
I got 5 minutes, 5, 10 minutes.
There we go. Okay, so you know what? I'll give you the floor to wrap it up. Another great morning live with you. Very
Yes.
happy to see you out here. I appreciate your energy.
appreciate you having me. And yeah, I've been doing this for quite some time now. And to be honest, like every single time, like after we do a video, sometimes like I said, I like to look back at it when I have a moment, like sometimes on my breaks, I just look back and I just look and see, okay, yeah, I could have improved there, or I could have went a bit more further into that. And oh, I went too much into that. But it's all learning experience, right? And not only that, most of the, well, not most, every single message that we come across here is always a positive message.
Yes.
I remember when we first started talking about this, and we were saying, like, we were saying that, yeah, what if we have a debate, like if we have a difference of opinion in something, like how it could get heated, and and we were kind of talking about the energy of that. But it's like it can't get to that point,
No.
because we're just so like neutral with each other, which is kind of, and I respect you for that, and I appreciate that as well, because that was one of my, I'll be honest, that was one of my first um fear, like to do the thing, was because I was like, oh, what if we get into this heated conversation and it gets to a point where it might come out of control, or
Oh,
or we just
never.
think. But I never see that happening. I never see that. Just pure positivity, love and light, and yeah. So I think that every video that we do, there's always a little, and I think if everybody kind of looks back at all the videos that we do and take a little bit from each of it, you could put together a very, very solid, concrete base that people can
Yes.
actually grow from. And that's the whole idea. And that's why I do this. It's all for positivity, just like you. It's all for the love of people, just like you. It's all for the betterment and empowerment and all that good stuff, just like you. So this is something that I enjoy, and that's why I get up in the morning and I look forward to this, because after I do this, it kind of clears my head, and when I get to work, I'm like, oh, you know what? I did something. I already done something positive for the day, and the day haven't even started yet. So
Right.
that's
That's right.
that's power, right there, right?
Yes, it is.
So I appreciate. So thanks again for having me on that. And once you matter the most start picking up, like I think that's gonna be something like out of this world for sure. So that's why, like, I strongly believe in it. When you first came to me about it, I was like, yeah, like it wasn't even a second thought. I was like, this is something that I need to get myself involved with, because it's just pure positivity. The betterment of people is exactly where I was going anyways with the life coaching. So what not why not just have an army with you, right? Like, you can fight a battle by yourself, but when you have an army behind you, you're guaranteed victory, right? So thanks
Well,
again
what?
for that.
Well,
Sorry.
you're welcome. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'd like you to know that when you go on the You Matter the Most website, do you realize that we're across country now?
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah.
We are. We're across Canada. We're not Quebec based. We're not. We are across Canada, and we have coaches across Canada. So I am so grateful. I am just waiting. You know what I think it is? People are waiting for the courses because we
Wow.
don't get individual bookings yet. Why? Because people are kind of like shy, okay, which I get it. And yes, there's a lot of limitations right now financially for people. But
It's
I
true.
think what's going to help people is, you see what you mentioned about going, looking back and taking a piece from everything. I'm almost finished my certification. So when I'm finished that, I can redirect my focus because it's time to put out some courses and we will teach classes. And that's what is going to help people to jump on board. You know what I mean? Like, and I believe in it. I
Yeah.
believe in you. I believe in me. I believe in you matter the most. I believe in, and I stand firm in it. And it's, yes, it's building. Sorry, I'll give you back to Florida close up.
No,
I
it's
just had
okay.
to.
Okay. I know you're passionate about that. And you know what? And I'll give you props for that too, because you know, when you put something like that together, it's very, how can I say this? It's a challenge to put the right people together, right? And as I look at the team, and I'm just like, oh, like we're all dark skin, so it's kind of like, you don't really see that often, where you see, like, usually you see a lot of, you know like, internationally, right? But when you see that there's more, like, of your kind of speak, not to be racist or anything, but I'm just saying it's when people see that, they're not used to seeing that. It's different. That's all I'm trying to say, you know? So that in itself will get people to be like, this is interesting, you know. Oh wow, like who are all these people, right? And then as they look at each profile, like how you have it perfectly, you know, everybody's like, oh, okay, oh, okay, oh, okay. And then they can now, like you said, choose who they want to deal with or who they connect with. And then it's the sky's the limit from there, right? So yeah, I totally
Did you accept the invite for your access to link your Google Calendar to it so that
I
people could book your
oh,
time directly?
I
Because
didn't
I sent you for You Matter the Most. I sent you a link that you could accept the invite, that you link your Google Calendar so that people book your services.
think so. You said
Okay,
that like
good. I'll go check it today. I haven't been on it, but I'll go check it today.
okay. So yeah. So I mean like, like once 2020 hit and that COVID happened, I was just like, but now it's like 2021. It's like a total different vibe now, and it's like you know everything's nothing will ever be back to normal. My personal opinion, nothing will ever be back to normal. But at least now things are starting to move in a way that I can actually control. You know what I mean? Like
Good,
where
good.
work is going, work is consistent. Like I said, at the beginning of this year, I was really leery about what was going to happen with my situation here. I thought for sure I was going to have to move again, and I wasn't ready for that. You know, now that things are starting to smooth out, and then all these opportunities came with my job, kind of thing. So I'm just like, okay, so this is good then. This is good. So I'm just gonna write it out, stay positive about it. That's the other thing I could do, and just do me, and that's it. So
That's so important. And I'm so happy to hear that from you, honestly, because by you doing you and me doing me and everybody else on the team doing them, when we come together to do the blast off, it's going to be life changing for everybody.
everybody,
But this
absolutely,
is the importance of it, is being able to put ourselves first, being okay in it, being
yep,
loving to ourselves first, and then showing others how to do it,
yep, exactly.
you
And I
know?
think this training that I took was a very good practice for me because, and also like the videos you're doing this with you too, because, I did videos before, but whenever I was doing the videos, I always felt like, I was always like, yeah, like I was saying, repeating certain things and just kind of, you know, trying to be consistent without leaving dead air that was a lot of pressure at that time. Now as I start talking to people and I'm doing my training and I'm doing this with you, it's like second nature now. So it's like like sometimes like I'll just go on Facebook and if I'm bored, I'll just go on Facebook and be like, hey, what's everybody doing? Anybody want to chat? Let's just chat live right here. We'll talk about whatever the heck you want. Let's just do this. And some people will come on. Some people will video. They'll all of a sudden I see a picture. I'm like, oh, so you just popping on, and it's nice, because
Yeah.
it's almost like a phone call, but a live, in the moment kind of thing, which is kind of cool too because I always like to video chat with my friends as opposed to just talking on the phone because when you see them, you see the reaction, you see the
Yeah.
where they're so
It's
much
more
fun.
engaging.
It's more engaging. Exactly. So yeah. So I hope everybody have a good day. I would like to thank everybody for stopping by and checking us out we have our little regular crew that comes up every morning, which is kind of cool. Because again, I like doing this right before going to work because then when I go to work, I'm like, oh, I did something, and now I can focus on my day more and be like, okay, there's no way this day could be destroyed in any way because I already did my positive for the day already. So it's great. And I thank you again for giving me that opportunity because it's really great. So,
Well, you know what? I thank you for grabbing it because you know what? I really appreciate you, Wendell. It sets my vibe right in the day too. Hopefully it sets the vibe for everybody else right. Gives them a little bit of coming up for air out of their own situations that they're living because it is real, right? So I guess I'll wrap up this morning and address all of you guys out there. Couple of reminders this morning. I asked you all at the beginning of the live to check yourselves today. Okay. Remind yourselves of who you are. So I'll say it briefly now before I get off. You guys, pen and paper. 2 columns. Write down all the good stuff about you. Write down all the stuff that you may not like about yourself too, because those are the things you can change. These things aren't set in stone. You choose alone to bring this forward in your life. Today's a brand new day. You got a creative power in you that you can change all the things that you don't like about yourself. Okay, but unconditionally love yourself and your life and others. Be loving in all that you say and you do. Limits, get creative. Obstacle, opportunity. Simple as that, no thoughts in between. Setbacks, hey, it's cool. Redirection, assess. That's all. It's time for you to take a look at the stuff. That's all it is. Don't react to things. Respond. Take that time for yourself. Why? Because you matter. You matter the most in your experience of your life. How could you not? It's your experience. Okay? Choose to harness your greatness and your creative power. Be loving in all that you say and you do. Okay? Because you're sourced by an infinite, unconditional love that loves you no matter what. So don't work in opposition to that, because you're making your life harder. And that's your choice also. Okay? So get it right today. Okay? Remind yourself of all the greatness that you carry. Okay? Love you all. Have a great day. Wendell, love and light, my brother.
Like, get it right and get it right.
Yeah, pretty much. Because you know what? It's all a choice too, right? Can't cry about our life if we choose not to get it right, you know? Love and light, my brother.
Like,
Peace.
sister, peace. Have a good one.
You too. Love you all. Have a great day.
You all have a good